Welcome back, everyone. In our previous video on our great-great-grandmother Sarah Morse Walker Snowden, we left off right at the end of the Civil War, tracing her early life. Now, if you do genealogical research, you know that historical records for Black women in the late 19th century can be incredibly scarce. Sarah lived to be 78 years old, yet the documentation we have for a huge chunk of her life is frustratingly brief. We have to become detectives, reading between the lines of the pages left behind. Today, we are diving straight into those missing decades. We'll look at a changing family structure, an unexpected household dynamic, a massive migration across state lines, and a correction from my last video. Let's piece together the puzzle of Sarah's life after the war. By 1870, we see a major shift. Sarah Morse is no longer using the surname Morse. She has become Sarah Walker. According to the records, Adam and Lemon Walker became her parents. Whether this was an adoption, a step-family dynamic, or a chosen family after the chaos of the war is something the records don't fully spell out. But while Sarah was starting this new chapter as a Walker, her future husband, Curl Snowden, was living a completely separate life. Records show Curl was living with his first wife, Mary, and their 2 children. How and when did Curl and Sarah actually meet? That is the million-dollar question. It is still something we are still actively researching. What we do know is that by the 1880, the dynamic changed drastically. The 1880 census drops a bombshell. Sarah was no longer living with the Walkers. She was now living directly inside Curl Snowden's home. Her official title on the document? The servant. As family historians, we always hit a brick wall in 1890. The 1890 U.S. federal census was almost entirely destroyed by a fire at the Commerce Department in Washington, D.C. in 1921. Because of that fire, we lose a critical 10-year window into Sarah and Curl's lives. To find out what happened next, we have to leapfrog all the way to the 1900 census. And we look closely at the math between 1880 and 1900, a fascinating, complicated story emerges. The 1900 census reveals a clear overlapping between Curl's relationship with his first wife, Mary, and his relationship with Sarah. In the exact same year, 1880, both Mary and Sarah give birth to children fathered by Curl. Sarah was living in the house as a servant, but the boundaries of that household were clearly shifting. Eventually, Sarah became Curl's wife, embarking on a massive journey of motherhood. Before we look at the children, I need to pause and make a confession. I made an error in my first video. I stated that Sarah had 8 children. As it turns out, she actually had 9. The deeper you dig, the more the truth reveals itself. Let's look at the records we have found for these 9 children. First came Curl Snowden Jr., born in December 1880 in North Carolina. Just a year later, John Snowden arrived in October 1881, also in North Carolina. Then we see a 5-year gap before Jesse Snowden was born in August 1886. Now let's talk about these gaps. Between John in 1881 and Jesse in 1886, there is a 5-year silence. Based on these timelines, there is always a strong chance that Sarah experienced miscarriages, stillborns, or children who tragically died very young without making it into the surviving census logs. After Jesse, Another 5-year gap brings us to Amelia Snowden in June 1881, followed by Levin Snowden in June 1893. And finally, the sixth child, Nancy V. Snowden, was born in December 1894. Nancy's birth marks a massive turning point for the family. She was born in Currituck County, North Carolina, and she'll be the very last child Sarah gave birth to in that state. Clearly, Carol and Sarah were a family on the move. Right after Nancy's birth in the late 1894, the family packed up and crossed the state line into Virginia. Their seventh child, Samuel Snowden, was the very first to be born on Virginia soil in 1895. He was born in the area known as Gum Swamp. We don't know how exactly long the family stayed in Gum Swamp because just 2 years later, their eighth child, Boston Snowden, was born in 1897 in Princess Anne County, Virginia. Now, there's a fascinating connection here. We discovered that Sarah's biological father was actually born right there in Princess Anne County. We aren't sure yet if this ancestral tie influenced the decision to settle in this specific area, but it's a detail we can't ignore. We are still actively researching the possibility of other blood relatives who might have been in the county at that time. Regardless of the why, this is where the family finally decided to put down permanent roots. In Princess Anne County, Sarah gave birth to her final child, Josephine Snowden, in 1900. Princess Anne County is where this resilient family remained. After approximately 35 years of marriage and a lifetime of rebuilding after the Civil War, my great-great-grandfather, Carl Snowden, passed away at the impressive age of 85 on June 1st, 1915. Great-great-grandmother Sarah survived him by 13 years. She passed away on October 19th, 1928, at the age of 78. From an uncertain post-war childhood to a complicated household dynamic through 9 children and a migration across state lines, Sarah Walker Snowden carved out a legacy that we are still uncovering today. Thank you for joining me on this research journey. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and leave a comment below if you're researching your own family's post-Civil War migrations. God bless, and see you in the next video.